Read People, How to Analyze People on First Sight. Introduction. Imagine walking into a room full of strangers, each with their own stories, fears and desires. As you glance around, you could easily feel overwhelmed, unsure of who to trust or how to connect. Now imagine having the power to decode their unspoken thoughts and intentions with just a few keen observations. Welcome to Read People, How to Analyze People on First Sight, where this extraordinary skill is not just a fantasy, but a practical, attainable reality. In a world where understanding others is crucial for personal and professional success, the ability to read people quickly and accurately can set you apart from the rest. Have you ever wished you could gauge someone's true feelings, motivations, or even their trustworthiness within seconds? Whether you're navigating a high-stakes business negotiation, trying to strengthen your personal relationships, or simply wanting to understand the people around you, mastering the art of people reading is a transformative skill that can provide invaluable insights. But what does it really mean to read people? It's more than just noticing facial expressions or body language. It involves interpreting a complex web of non-verbal cues, behaviors, and subtleties that reveal deeper truths about someone's internal state. By learning to read these signals, you can gain a clearer understanding of their thoughts and emotions, enabling you to respond more effectively and empathetically. This book is designed to demystify the process of reading people and make it accessible to everyone. We will delve into practical techniques and strategies that allow you to decode the silent signals people send out every day, from the way someone shifts their gaze to the subtle changes in their posture. Every detail can provide a clue about their true feelings and intentions. By developing these skills, you'll not only become a more perceptive individual, but also enhance your interpersonal relationships and decision-making abilities. Read People is structured to guide you through this journey step by step. We'll start with the fundamentals of human behavior and body language, exploring the science behind why we act the way we do. As you progress, you'll learn how to identify and interpret specific signals that reveal key aspects of a person's personality, such as their level of confidence, honesty, or anxiety. Each chapter will equip you with actionable insights and exercises designed to hone your observational skills and deepen your understanding. Throughout the book, you'll find real-life examples and case studies that illustrate how these techniques can be applied in various situations, whether you're dealing with a challenging colleague, trying to build rapport with a new acquaintance, or simply wanting to improve your emotional intelligence. The principles and tools presented here will empower you to navigate social interactions with greater ease and insight. The journey of reading people is not just about becoming an expert in human behavior. It's about enriching your interactions and enhancing your personal and professional life. By mastering these skills, you'll find yourself better equipped to forge meaningful connections, make informed decisions, and ultimately understand the intricate dance of human emotions that shapes our world. So are you ready to unlock the secrets of human behavior and gain a deeper understanding of the people around you? Turn the page and let Read People, How to Analyze People on Sight be your guide to seeing beyond the surface and discovering the hidden dynamics of human interactions. Your adventure into the fascinating world of people reading begins now. Isn't it intriguing how much the unspoken can communicate? With a keen eye and a guided approach, you can learn to decipher the language of body movements, facial expressions, and subtle shifts in demeanor that reveal more than words ever could. Picture yourself in a room effortlessly picking up on unspoken cues and gaining a deeper understanding of people's intentions and feelings. This extraordinary walkthrough will equip you with the skills to analyze people on sight, peeling back the layers of human interaction. Stay tuned to uncover the secret language of human behavior. For more information about the ebook version of this audio, check the video description or visit audiobooksoffice.com. We notice that 69% of you who listen to our video are not yet subscribed to the channel. Please help support the channel by hitting the subscribe button and liking the video. Thanks for inspiring. Bring us to create more content for you. Chapter 1. The Basics of Body. Language. An astounding 55% of communication is delivered through body language, making it an essential aspect of reading people. You may not realize it, but every time you interact with someone, you're not just listening to their words, but also observing their movements, gestures, and posture. These nonverbal cues can reveal a person's true feelings, thoughts, or intuitions. Let's start with posture. An upright, open posture can indicate confidence and openness, while a slouched, closed posture might signal insecurity or disinterest. If someone is leaning towards you, they're likely engaged and interested, while leaning away could mean discomfort or a desire for distance. Next, consider gestures. These can vary greatly across cultures, but generally expansive, fluid. Gestures can indicate enthusiasm and engagement, while small, tight movements might suggest nervousness or defensiveness. Pay close attention to a person's hands. Are they relaxed or clenched? Clenched fists often reveal frustration or tension, while relaxed hands may suggest comfort and ease. Finally, we have physical contact. While this is heavily influenced by cultural norms and personal boundaries, it can reveal a lot about a person's comfort level and relationship to you. A pat on the back, for example, can indicate camaraderie or approval, while a lack of touch could suggest distance or discomfort. Chapter 2. Understanding facial expressions. Beyond the domain of body language, delving into the study of facial expressions can reveal a trove of insights about a person's emotions and intentions. A person's face is a canvas of emotions, exhibiting nuanced responses that can often be more truthful than words. You'll find that people often express their true feelings, even when they're trying to hide them through subtle facial cues. Start with the most prominent features. The mouth and eyebrows. A genuine smile engages not just the mouth but also the eyes, causing them to crinkle at the corners. A forced smile, on the other hand, tends to be restricted to the mouth. Furrowed eyebrows can denote concentration or confusion, whereas raised eyebrows might suggest surprise or incredulity. The cheeks and forehead also play vital roles in facial expressions. Flush cheeks can be an indicator of embarrassment or excitement. Tension in the forehead, particularly vertical furrows between the eyebrows, often signals stress or a worry. Now let's consider the nose. A wrinkled nose can display disgust or disapproval, while flaring nostrils might signify anger or fear. Lastly, don't overlook the chin and jaw. A jutting chin can indicate determination or defiance. A clenched jaw can reveal suppressed anger or anxiety. Chapter 3. Decoding eye movements. While facial expressions can offer a wealth of information, the eyes, often termed the windows to the soul, serve as a profound source of insights about a person's thoughts and feelings. A person's eye movements can provide you with an additional layer of understanding that goes beyond their spoken words. In this regard, let's plunge further into the domain of eye movements and what they can reveal. Firstly, ponder the direction of a person's gaze, if they're consistently avoiding eye contact. It could indicate discomfort or a lack of trust. On the contrary, prolonged eye contact might suggest interest or assertiveness. One must bear in mind the cultural context here, as norms for eye contact vary greatly across different societies. Next, pay attention to pupil dilation. Our pupils naturally dilate in response to emotional arousal, excitement, or attraction. If someone's pupils dilate while talking to you, it might mean they're deeply engaged in the conversation, or perhaps even attracted to you. Finally, blink rate can also be a telling sign. Increased blinking may signal stress or discomfort, while a decreased rate often implies concentration or focus. However, remember to take into account environmental factors such as light and air quality, which can also affect blink rate. Chapter 4. Interpreting hand gestures. Just as eyes communicate volumes, our hands are equally expressive, often revealing more than our words. They're an integral part of human communication, offering a glimpse into someone's thoughts, feelings, and intentions. Under open palms, this gesture suggests openness and honesty. When people expose their palms, they're often trying to convey trust and acceptance. It's a universal symbol of peace, indicating that they're not holding anything back. In contrast, closed fists can signal aggression or defensiveness. Clenched hands often imply tension, frustration, or anger. If you notice someone's hands curling into fists, it's likely they're experiencing negative emotions or feeling threatened. Fidgeting is another telltale sign. When people are nervous or anxious, they tend to move their hands excessively, touching their face or twirling their hair. However, don't jump to conclusions too quickly. Some people just have a habit of fidgeting, so it's important to take this into account in the context of other body language cues. Handshakes, too, reveal a lot about a person. A firm handshake typically portrays confidence and sincerity. Conversely, a weak handshake may suggest lack of self-assuredness or indifference. Remember, interpreting hand gestures isn't an exact science. People are complex and cultural. Differences can greatly impact the meaning of certain gestures. It's vital to take the overall context into account, including the person's words and other body language signals. Chapter 5. Analyzing posture and stance. Ever wondered how much a person's posture can reveal about them? You'd be amazed at the wealth of information you can glean just by observing how someone stands or sits. Let's break it down, shall we? First, take note of the general stance. Is the person standing tall with shoulders back and head held high? That's often a sign of confidence and self-assuredness. On the flip side, if they're slouching or hunched over, it could indicate insecurity or discomfort. Next, focus on their legs. Are they spread apart or are they closely positioned? A wide stance often suggests dominance or readiness to take action, whereas legs close together can suggest nervousness or defensiveness. Then pay attention to their arm positioning. Arms crossed over the chest is generally perceived as a defensive or closed-off stance. If someone's arms are loosely hanging by their sides or resting openly in their lap, it's likely they're feeling relaxed and open to conversation. Finally, observe their head. A neck. A tilted head can denote curiosity or interest, while a stiff, straight neck might mean they're feeling tense or on guard. Chapter 6. Behavioral patterns to watch. Taking our understanding of body language from posture and stance, we now shift our focus to the domain of behavioral patterns. These are repeated, actions or habits that can provide insights into a person's character and mindset. They're not as immediate or fleeting as body language, but they're just as revealing. Consider how someone treats others, especially those they perceive as lower than them in status. If they regularly belittle or disrespect them, it's a clear sign of a superiority complex and possibly an underlying insecurity. Note how they react to stress. Some people shut down, some lash out, others become hyperactive. This can tell you a lot about their coping mechanisms and emotional maturity. Observe their consistency. Do they say one thing and do another? Actions speak louder than words. And inconsistencies can indicate dishonesty or confusion. Pay attention to their level of responsibility. Do they own up to their mistakes, or are they always blaming others? This can show their level of self-awareness and emotional intelligence. Watch how they handle power and control. Are they cooperative or domineering? It's a reflection of their leadership style and their view of others. Finally, look at their relationship with time. Are they always late, always early, or just on time? It can indicate their level of respect for others, their organizational skills, and their attitude towards commitments. Chapter 7. Significance of micro expressions. Delving deeper into the intricacies of human behavior, you'll discover the potent tool of micro expressions. These brief, involuntary facial expressions occur when a person experiences an intense emotion. They're incredibly fast, often lasting only a fraction of a second, making them challenging to detect without careful observation. Micro-expressions can provide invaluable insights into a person's true feelings, even when they're trying to hide them. Often people aren't even consciously aware of these expressions, so they can be a more honest gauge of emotion than what's being verbally communicated. If you're able to spot and accurately interpret these fleeting cues, you'll be one step closer to understanding the person in front of you. 7 universal micro-expressions exist: happiness, sadness, fear, surprise, anger, disgust, and contempt. Though they flash across everyone's face in the same way, no matter their background or culture, the reasons behind them can vary greatly. You'll need to ponder the context in which the expression appears, as well as the person's unique characteristics and circumstances. However, micro-expression analysis isn't infallible. It's possible to misinterpret these signals or overanalyze them. Remember, they're just one piece of the complex puzzle of human behavior. But when used in conjunction with other observational tools, they can provide a powerful layer of insight. Mastering the art of reading micro-expressions requires practice, patience, and a keen eye. It's a skill that can substantially enhance your ability to read and understand people, offering you a deeper comprehension of the human emotional landscape. Chapter 8. Reading verbal cues. While mastering the subtleties of micro-expressions can give you a deeper understanding of someone's hidden emotions, paying attention to their verbal cues plays an equally important role in reading people effectively. Understanding the ways people use words, tone, and pace in their speech can provide significant insights into their thoughts and feelings. Firstly, listen to the choice of words. Someone's vocabulary can reveal their knowledge, beliefs, and even social class. For instance, people often use words that resonate with their values. So, if someone frequently talks about honesty, it's likely a vital principle for them. Next, observe the tone of voice. It's often more revealing than the words themselves. A person's voice can betray anxiety, excitement, anger, or joy. If they're speaking in a high pitch, it could indicate tension or excitement. A monotone voice might suggest bore or detachment. Pace, similarly, is telling rapid speech. May mean someone is nervous or excited, while slow talk might mean they're thoughtful or trying to control their words carefully. Finally, pay attention to the pauses. A long silence might indicate that they're reflecting, or uncomfortable, short, frequent pauses could suggest they're uncertain or making things up as they go. Chapter N. Detecting deception indicator is traversing the labyrinth of human. Dishonesty can be a challenging endeavor, however. With an understanding of deception indicators, you'll become more adept at charting these complex pathways. It's about observing the subtle shifts in behavior the unconscious tells that often reveal more than words. Firstly, you've got to understand that lies often cause stress and cognitive load. This tension manifests physically, often in the form of micro-expressions, fleeting involuntary facial expressions that last only a fraction of a second. An unexpected flicker of fear, a brief flash of anger, or a momentary twitch of disgust can signal deceit. Next, pay attention to body language. It's a common misconception that averting eye contact is a sure sign of lying. In reality, it's inconsistent behavior that's a more reliable indicator. Liars often overcompensate by maintaining too much eye contact, or frequently changing their position. Watch for fidgeting, touching the face or nose, or covering the mouth. These are potential deception indicators. Moreover, listen to the way people talk. Buyers may stumble over words, take longer pauses, or repeat phrases they might provide too much detail, hoping to make their story seem more credible, or they might be vague, avoiding specific details altogether. Chapter 10. Cultural differences in body language understanding. Body language is more of an art than a science, and it becomes even more nuanced when you factor in cultural differences as you plunge into the world of non-verbal communication. You'll find a multitude of cultural variables that can alter or even completely change the meanings of certain gestures or postures. Take the concept of personal space, for instance. In North America, maintaining a certain distance during a conversation is considered respectful, while in many Middle Eastern and Latin countries, close proximity is a sign of trust and friendship. Don't mistake this closeness for intrusion. It's merely a cultural norm. Eye contact too varies widely. In Western societies, it's often seen as a sign of honesty and confidence. However, in some Asian cultures, too much direct eye contact can be considered respectful or even aggressive. It's all about understanding these social cues and adapting your interpretation accordingly. Hand gestures are another minor field. Thumbs up might signify approval for you, but in some Middle Eastern countries, it's an obscene gesture. The Oklahoma sign, a circle made by the thumb and index finger, means 0 in France and is offensive in Brazil. In the globalized world, it's crucial to approach body language with a culturally sensitive lens. It's not enough just to note a particular behavior or gesture. You must also understand the cultural context it's coming from. This awareness won't only improve your ability to read people, but also enhance your cross-cultural interactions. Chapter 11. Gender variances in communication. Often you'll find that gender plays a significant role in shaping communication styles. Men and women tend to communicate differently, and recognizing these variances can enhance your ability to analyze people effectively. Generally, men's communication tends to be more direct and task-oriented. They often use communication as a means to achieve an end, making their messages straightforward and to the point. You'll see a focus on facts, details and solutions. Men often prefer talking about topics, activities or interests rather than personal experiences or feelings. On the other hand, women typically employ a more relational style of communication. They often use conversation to establish closeness and build relationships. You'll notice a focus on feelings, emotions, and personal experiences in their discourse. Women also tend to use more non-verbal cues, such as facial expressions and body language, to convey their messages, which further emphasizes their attention to emotional context. However, it's important to remember that these are general tendencies and not rigid rules. People are unique, and their communication styles can vary greatly depending on their personality, upbringing and cultural background. Consequently, while gender might provide some clues about a person's communication style, it shouldn't be the sole basis of your analysis. It's critical to weigh other factors and observe the individual in various contexts to get a well-rounded understanding of their communication style. Chapter 12. Emotional Intelligence in Observation. Without a doubt, your emotional intelligence plays a pivotal role when observing and understanding others. It's the silent, invisible tool in your arsenal that allows you to discern hidden emotions, unspoken thoughts, and subtle body language cues. You're not just observing with your eyes, but with your heart and mind too. To harness your emotional intelligence, you've got to become a keen observer of people's emotional reactions. Watch for the nuance in their expressions and the meaning behind their words. A furrowed brow might indicate concentration or frustration. A quick, fleeting smile could suggest amusement or discomfort. Recognizing these subtle changes is crucial to accurately interpret people's emotional states. Then, you've got to empathize, place yourself in their shoes, feel what they might be feeling. This isn't about guessing or making assumptions, but about understanding their perspective. Empathy isn't just feeling sorry for someone, it's about understanding their emotions as if they were your own. But remember, emotional intelligence isn't just about understanding others' emotions. It's equally about understanding your own. Avoid jumping to conclusions based on your own biases and emotions. Instead, maintain a clear, objective viewpoint. This will allow you to make more accurate observations and judgments about others. Improving your emotional intelligence is a process. It takes time and practice. But as you get better at it, you'll find it becomes easier to read people, to understand their thoughts and feelings, and to relate to them on a deeper level. Chapter 13. Observing vocal tone and pitch. Continuing on your journey to read people better, let's look at another significant aspect: vocal tone and pitch. This vital tool often conveys more than the actual words being spoken. It's a complex aspect, but with careful listening, you can start to understand the subtle clues hidden within it. When you're analyzing someone's vocal tone, you're paying attention to how they're speaking. Is their voice warm and inviting, or is it cold and distant? These tonal variations can give you insights into a person's emotional state. For instance, an upbeat tone can indicate happiness or excitement, while a flat monotone voice might suggest boredom or disinterest. Now let's discuss pitch. This is about the highness or lowness of a person's voice. High pitch often conveys excitement, anxiety, or even distress, whereas a lower pitch might represent calmness, seriousness, or authority. It's essential to recognize that pitch can vary widely among individuals based on factors like gender, age, and cultural background. Remember, It's not just about what people say, but how they say it. The tone and pitch of someone's voice can reveal their feelings and attitudes. However, be cautious and avoid jumping to conclusions based on a single factor. Focal tone and pitch are just one piece of the puzzle. Chapter 14, Proxemic and Personal. Space while you're tuning into someone's tone and pitch. Don't overlook the significance of proxemic and personal. Space in reading people's behaviors and attitudes. Proxemic, the study of human use of space and the effects that population density has on behavior, communication, and social interaction, is a key tool in analyzing people's comfort levels and relationships with others. Let's dig a bit deeper. Notice how close someone stands to you or others during a conversation. A person standing far away may be indicating discomfort or disinterest. On the other hand, an individual who invades your personal bubble might be overly confident, dominant, or simply unaware of social norms. It's not just about distance, though. Take note of body orientation. If someone is angled away from you, they might be expressing a desire to leave or showing disinterest. But if they're facing you directly, it's likely they're engaged and interested. Observe too territorial behaviors. People often use objects to claim space, like spreading personal items out on a table. This could signal a need for control or dominance. Personal space isn't just physical, it's psychological. A person who frequently closes off or guards their personal space may have trust issues or feel threatened. Chapter 15, Analyzing Clothing. Choices. Clothing choices, a vibrant tapestry of personal expression, can reveal a wealth of information about an individual's personality, status, and mood. They're like silent whispers of their owners, giving away little secrets that you can pick up if you're observant. Firstly, notice the colors. People who often wear bright, vibrant colors may be outgoing, expressive, and open to new experiences. On the other hand, those who stick to neutral or dark colors could be introverted, conservative, or may not want to draw attention to themselves. Next, pay attention to the style. Trendy, fashionable clothes may suggest a person values societal acceptance, or they may have a creative streak. Conversely, someone who wears classic or timeless pieces might be more traditional, with a focus on longevity and quality of for current trends. Consider also the fit. Clothes that are tailor-made or fit perfectly often suggest detail, orientation, professionalism, or a high personal standard. Loose or oversized clothing might suggest comfort or personal ease, is a priority, or possibly a desire to hide their physique. Finally, note the cleanliness and upkeep. Pristine, well-maintained attire can indicate meticulousness and respect for appearances, while stained or worn-out clothes might show negligence or a disregard for societal norms. Chapter 16, Identifying Dominant and Submissive Behaviors. You mightn't realize it, but every interaction you have is a subtle power play with cues that indicate whether someone is exhibiting dominant or submissive behavior. It's all in the details, the minutiae that might escape casual observation. However, mastering the art of recognizing these cues can drastically improve your ability to understand people. Dominant behavior often manifests in body language. People who are dominant take up more space. Their posture is open and expansive. They're likely to stand or sit straight, their heads held high and their shoulders back. They maintain eye contact, and their movements are deliberate, self-assured. They're not afraid to assert their opinions, often speaking loudly and clearly. On the other hand, submissive behavior is marked by a tendency to make oneself smaller to take up less space. Submissive people often have a closed posture with shoulders hunched and heads down their voice might be quieter, their speech possibly hesitant. They might avoid prolonged eye contact, and their movements could be uncertain or fidgety. It's important to note, though, that these behaviors aren't set in stone. They can change based on the situation or the person one is interacting with. Also, dominance or submission doesn't inherently indicate superiority or inferiority. It's simply a behavioral dynamic one that you can now identify and understand better. Chapter 17. Recognizing nervous habits beyond recognizing dominant and submissive behaviors. Another key aspect of reading people is identifying their nervous habits. These repetitive, often unconscious actions can provide valuable insights into a person's emotional state. First, pay attention to the person's hands. Are they fidgeting, tapping or playing with their hair or clothing? This could suggest discomfort, anxiety, or restlessness. Similarly, a clenched jaw or tightened fists might indicate suppressed anger or tension. Next, observe their facial expressions. Rapid blinking or avoiding eye contact can be signs of nervousness or deception. People often touch their faces more when they're anxious, so look for excessive scratching, rubbing, or lip biting. Don't forget to take note of their posture. Two punched shoulders, crossed arms, or legs can signal defensiveness or insecurity. On the other hand, an overly rigid or still posture might suggest an attempt to control or hide their nervousness. Finally, tune into their speech patterns. Rapid, disjointed, or stammered speech can reflect nervousness. Meanwhile, long pauses may indicate they're trying to formulate a response or control their thoughts. Remember, these signals aren't definitive proof of nervousness. They clues. Deducing from these cues requires understanding the context in comparing these behaviors to the person's baseline behavior. Understanding others isn't an exact science. It's an art honed through careful observation and practice. In the next section, we'll explore the concept of mirroring and rapport, building another essential component in learning to read people effectively. Chapter 18. Mirroring and rapport. Building in the domain of interpersonal communication. The practice of mirroring holds a pivotal role. It's a technique where you subtly mimic another person's behavior, which includes imitating gestures, body language, speech patterns, or attitudes. This strategy is often employed to build rapport, create a sense of connection, and enhance understanding between individuals. Now, don't mistake mirroring for mockery. It's a subtle art, requiring you to be observant, empathetic, and responsive. You're not copying every action, but rather reflecting the mood, pace, and tone of the conversation. The effectiveness of mirroring lies in its ability to make others feel understood, validated, and comfortable. When you mirror someone, you're signaling that you're on the same wavelength, leading to a deeper bond and improved communication. Yet it's essential to remember that improper mirroring could lead to discomfort and mistrust. Overdoing it might make you appear insincere or manipulative. Consequently, it's about striking the right balance, mirroring enough to convey empathy and understanding, but not so much that it becomes noticeable or unnatural. Rapport building, on the other hand, involves establishing a connection or relationship with someone. It's about finding common ground, showing genuine interest, and expressing empathy. When combined with effective mirroring, it creates a powerful tool for understanding and influencing others. Chapter 19. Cluster of non-verbal signals. Diving deeper into the domain of interpersonal communication, we encounter clusters of non-verbal signals. These are Groups of gestures, expressions, and movements that, when combined, convey a person's emotional state, attitude, or intentions more accurately than any single non-verbal signal could consider a scenario where a person leans back in their chair, crosses their arms, and avoids eye contact when you're speaking. Each of these actions on its own could mean a variety of things, but when you see them together, you can deduce that the person is likely disinterested or defensive. That's the power of clusters. They are critical in understanding non-verbal communication because they provide context, just like words form sentences. To express complete thoughts, non-verbal signals cluster together to convey clear messages. It's not about focusing on a single gesture, but about recognizing patterns and considering them in relation to the situation and the person's usual behavior if you're aiming to read people. Effectively, you've got to pay attention to these clusters. Look for combinations of signals like facial expressions, body, language, and tone of voice. Watch for consistency among these signals. If a person's words conflict with their nonverbal signals, trust the latter. They often a truer reflection of what's going on beneath the surface. Chapter 20. Assessing confidence levels. How can you discern someone's confidence level just by observing them? The answer lies in the subtle cues they unknowingly project. Pay attention to their posture. A confident person typically stands tall with their shoulders back and chest out. They occupy space without hesitation. If they're sitting, they might lean back, seeming comfortable and relaxed in their own skin. This isn't about arrogance, but about an unspoken declaration of self-assuredness. Observe their eye contact. Confident people aren't afraid to look others in the eye when speaking. It's a sign of honesty, openness, and trustworthiness. However, don't mistake constant unblinking eye contact for confidence. That can be a sign of aggression or dominance. Confident people often have a healthy balance. They maintain eye contact, but they aren't afraid to break it. Once in a while, listen to their voice. Confident people speak clearly. Their voices are steady, not shaky or hesitant. They articulate their words well and speak at a moderate pace, not too fast nor too slow. They speak with conviction, even if they're not particularly loud. Consider their gestures. Confident people use their hands to emphasize points, but their movements are controlled, not erratic or nervous. They're comfortable touching their face or body during a conversation, a sign that they're at ease with themselves in the situation. Chapter 21. Subtle signs of discomfort spotting. Discomfort in others can be as simple as tuning into a few key signs. Observe their body language. Are they fidgeting? This can be a clear indicator of discomfort. It's not just about large, obvious movements, but also of the small ones. A slight shift in weight, tapping of a foot, or incessant playing with a pen can signal unease. Pay attention to their facial expressions. Do you see fleeting grimaces, clenched jaws, or furrowed brows? These expressions often flash across a person's face when they're uncomfortable. It's these micro expressions that often give away a person's true feelings. Their voice can also provide valuable clues. If a person's voice is shaky, strangled, or they're speaking faster than usual, they might be uncomfortable. Similarly, frequent throat clearing or swallowing can be signs of nervousness. Next, consider their personal space. If someone's uncomfortable, they'll likely create physical distance between themselves and what's causing them discomfort. Are they leaning away from you or someone else? Are they crossing their arms or legs, creating a barrier? Lastly, note how engaged they're in the conversation. if they're looking away frequently, giving short responses or not. Fully participating in the conversation, they may not be at ease. Chapter 22. Expressions of interest and disinterest. Recognizing expressions of interest and disinterest is critical to understanding people's responses during interactions. It's not just about what they say, but how they say it. Paying attention to their facial expressions, body language and tone of voice can reveal a lot about their true feelings. When someone is interested, they'll likely lean in, maintain eye contact and display open body language. They might also respond enthusiastically, ask follow-up questions or compliment you. Their voice may rise in pitch and they might speak more quickly. On the flip side, if someone's disinterested, they'll probably exhibit the opposite behaviors. They might lean back, avoid eye contact, or cross their arms. They could respond in short, curt sentences, or they mightn't respond at all. Their voice may lower in pitch, and they might speak more slowly. However, it's important to remember that these signs aren't definitive. For instance, someone might maintain eye contact, not because they're interested, but because they're trying to assert dominance, or they might cross their arms, not out of disinterest, but because they're cold. That's why it's essential to ponder the context and to look for clusters of cues rather than relying on one single sign. Chapter 23. Body language in group settings. While it's enlightening to analyze individual body language, the dynamics change when you're dealing with group settings. The group's composite body language tells its own unique story. That's where you need to pay attention to the overall atmosphere and the interactions between members in the group. Take note of who people direct their bodies towards when they're conversing. A person might be speaking to the whole group, but their body might be angled towards a specific individual. This can often indicate who they perceive as the group leader or who they're most comfortable with. Observe how the group members position themselves. Are they huddled closely together or spread out, a tight-knit group can suggest camaraderie and unity, while a spread-out group might indicate a lack of cohesion or underlying tensions. Look for symmetry in body language as well. If the group members mirror each other's gestures and postures, it's likely they're in sync and share a sense of understanding and agreement. It's a sign of rapport and harmony. However, when one person's body language starkly contrasts the others, it can be an indication of disagreement or discomfort. They mightn't express this verbally, but their body language will reveal their true sentiments. Lastly, pay attention to the group's reactions when someone speaks or acts. Does the group follow their lead, or does their attention wander? This can show who holds influence and who's on the outskirts. Chapter 24. Adapting communication styles. As you navigate the sphere of human interaction, understanding the nuances of communication styles becomes a crucial skill. Tailoring your message for ideal understanding isn't just about what you say, but how you say it. The tone, the pace, the language used, being flexible in your approach, adaptable to the listener's style, can dramatically enhance the effectiveness of your communication. Understanding different communication styles is key to enhancing your interpersonal skills. Broadly, there are 4 styles: assertive, passive, aggressive, and passive. Aggressive. You're most effective when you're assertive, expressing your needs and wants clearly, yet respecting others. Passive communicators, on the other hand, don't express themselves directly, often leading to misunderstandings. Aggressive communicators are straightforward but lack empathy, which can lead to conflict. Finally, passive-aggressive communicators indirectly express aggression, causing confusion. Lesson 4. Facial expressions are universal. Facial expressions are among the most direct and revealing forms of non-verbal communication. They are a window into our emotions, often expressing feelings in ways that words cannot. What's fascinating about facial expressions is that they are universal. No matter where you are in the world, a smile means happiness, a frown signals displeasure, and wide eyes often indicate surprise. Because facial expressions transcend cultural boundaries, they are one of the most reliable tools in analyzing someone on first sight, giving you immediate access to their emotional state. Let's start with the basics. The smile. A genuine smile, often called a Duchenne smile, involves the movement of muscles around both the mouth and the eyes. When someone smiles genuinely, you'll notice the corners of their mouth lift, but also the skin around their eyes crinkles slightly, forming crow's feet. This is a sign that their happiness or pleasure is sincere. On the other hand, a fake or forced smile typically only involves the mouth, with little or no movement around the eyes. If someone's eyes don't smile with their mouth, it's a clue that they may not be as happy or pleased as they are trying to appear. Learning to spot the difference between a genuine and a forced smile can help you gauge whether someone's friendliness or enthusiasm is real or simply for show. Facial expressions are deeply tied to our emotions, and they often appear before a person has the chance to consciously control them. This is why expressions like anger, frustration, or surprise can flash across someone's face in a split second before they manage to mask their feelings. These fleeting expressions, known as micro-expressions, are incredibly telling. Micro-expressions are quick, involuntary facial expressions that occur when someone tries to hide or suppress their true feelings. They might only last for a fraction of a second, but with practice, you can learn to spot them and gain insight into someone's hidden emotions. For instance, a brief flicker of anger in the form of a tightened jaw or narrowed eyes can reveal that someone is more upset than they're letting on, even if they're trying to appear calm. The eyes, often referred to as the windows to the soul, play a crucial role in facial expressions. When someone is truly engaged or excited, their eyes will often widen and their pupils may dilate slightly. In contrast, narrow or squinted eyes might signal suspicion, skepticism, or discomfort. Additionally, when someone raises their eyebrows, it can indicate surprise or disbelief, while furrowed brows often accompany frustration, concentration, or confusion. Another key facial expression to observe is the frown. A frown is a universal sign of sadness, frustration, or displeasure. It's often accompanied by downturned corners of the mouth and a wrinkled forehead. However, it's important to note that not all frowns are created equal. A slight frown might indicate mild annoyance, while a deep, pronounced frown with tightly pressed lips could be a sign of serious frustration or anger. By paying attention to the intensity of the frown, you can gauge the level of the person's negative emotions. Beyond the basic emotions of happiness, sadness, anger, and surprise, facial expressions can also convey more complex emotions. For example, someone who feels disgust might wrinkle their nose or purse their lips, while a person who feels contempt might display a one-sided smile or smirk. These expressions are often subtle, but can provide significant insight into how someone is feeling. A person who is smirking or pursing their lips might be trying to hide their disdain or disagreement, while someone who wrinkles their nose might be reacting negatively to something they find unpleasant or offensive. Facial expressions can also offer clues about someone's level of engagement or interest in a conversation. When someone is genuinely interested in what you're saying, their face will often show signs of attentiveness, raised eyebrows, slightly parted lips, and nods of agreement. On the other hand, if their face appears neutral or blank, it could indicate that they are disinterested or bored. A person who avoids making facial expressions altogether might be trying to conceal their true feelings, but their lack of reaction can still provide you with valuable information about their emotional state. It's also important to pay attention to asymmetrical facial expressions. When someone's face displays inconsistent emotions, for example, one side of their mouth is smiling while the other side is neutral or downturned, it might indicate that they are feeling conflicted or unsure. This can happen when someone is trying to present a certain emotion, like happiness, but is still experiencing underlying negative emotions. Asymmetrical expressions are often a sign that the person is trying to mask how they really feel. In addition to individual expressions, it's essential to consider how facial expressions change throughout a conversation. Someone might start a conversation with a smile, but shift to a more neutral or even negative expression as the discussion progresses. These changes are important to observe because they can provide clues about how the person is reacting to what's being said. If someone's expression becomes more tense or guarded, it could indicate that they are feeling uncomfortable or defensive. Conversely, if their face becomes more relaxed and open, it's likely a sign that they are becoming more comfortable or agreeable. Cultural context is another critical factor when interpreting facial expressions. While many expressions are universal, some may vary depending on cultural norms. For example, in some cultures, it's considered impolite to show strong emotions, so people may try to mask their feelings with a neutral or calm expression. In other cultures, expressing emotions more openly is encouraged, and people might use more exaggerated facial expressions. Being aware of these cultural differences can help you interpret facial expressions more accurately, especially when interacting with people from different backgrounds. It's essential to remember that facial expressions rarely exist in isolation. They are often accompanied by other nonverbal cues, such as body language and tone of voice. By analyzing facial expressions in conjunction with these other cues, you can get a more complete picture of what someone is really feeling or thinking. Facial expressions are one of the most powerful and universal forms of nonverbal communication. They provide immediate insight into a person's emotional state, often revealing feelings that words can't express. From genuine smiles to fleeting micro-expressions, the face is a rich source of information about someone's true emotions. By learning to read and interpret these expressions, you can become more adept at analyzing people on first sight and understanding what they are really feeling, even when they try to hide it. Lesson 5. Voice tone tells you what words don't. When we communicate with others, it's easy to focus on the words being said, but the tone of someone's voice often tells you far more about their emotions, intentions, and even their honesty. Voice tone is a powerful aspect of communication, adding layers of meaning that can either support or contradict what is being said. In fact, tone, pitch, volume, and speed can reveal a person's true feelings in ways that words simply cannot. Understanding how to read and interpret these vocal cues is crucial for analyzing people, especially when you first meet them. Let's start with the most obvious aspect of voice tone: pitch. Pitch refers to how high or low a person's voice sounds. People with a higher-pitched voice may come across as anxious or nervous, especially if their pitch rises suddenly during the conversation. On the other hand, a lower-pitched voice is often associated with calmness, confidence, and control. In situations where someone is trying to sound authoritative or assertive, you might notice them lowering their voice to project strength and reliability. However, a sudden shift to a higher pitch, particularly when someone is answering a difficult question, can signal stress or discomfort. Tone itself reflects a person's emotional state. A warm, even tone usually conveys friendliness, openness, and engagement. When someone speaks with a steady, pleasant tone, they often feel comfortable and confident. In contrast, a sharp, harsh tone can signal anger, frustration, or impatience. For instance, a person who starts to answer a question with a calm tone but quickly shifts to a sharper or more clipped tone may be hiding feelings of irritation or resentment. Similarly, a flat or monotone voice may indicate boredom, indifference, or emotional detachment. Next, consider the volume of someone's voice. Loudness can be a strong indicator of someone's emotional state. When people raise their voice, it's often a sign that they are feeling passionate, angry, or defensive. However, this can also be used as a tool for dominance. In certain situations, people may raise their voice to assert control or intimidate others. Conversely, a softer, quieter voice may suggest a person is feeling unsure, submissive, or anxious. A voice that is consistently soft or mumbled could indicate low confidence, while someone who speaks clearly and loudly without shouting typically projects confidence and self-assurance. Speech speed is another key element to watch for. People who speak quickly may be nervous or anxious. A fast pace might indicate that someone is trying to get through the conversation as quickly as possible, perhaps because they feel uncomfortable or are eager to move on. On the other hand, someone who speaks slowly and deliberately often feels confident, in control, or thoughtful. But be mindful, sometimes a person might speak slowly to give themselves more time to think, especially if they are trying to deceive or manipulate the situation. In these cases, pauses and hesitations can be telling signs that the person is searching for the right words, possibly to fabricate or withhold information. Pauses in speech can reveal a great deal about someone's state of mind. Long pauses might suggest that a person is nervous or unsure about what to say next. In some cases, it could indicate they are hiding something or trying to construct a response that isn't entirely truthful. Alternatively, short, well-placed pauses can be a sign of a thoughtful communicator who is carefully considering their words. Someone who uses pauses effectively may project wisdom, control, and authority. It's also important to pay attention to intonation, which refers to the rise and fall of the voice as someone speaks. Intonation can drastically change the meaning of a sentence. For example, a person might say, "That's interesting," but their tone will tell you whether they're genuinely intrigued or if they're being sarcastic. Rising intonation at the end of a statement often suggests uncertainty or that the speaker is seeking validation, whereas a falling intonation indicates decisiveness and confidence. By listening to the rise and fall of someone's voice, you can better understand whether they are being sincere or if there's an underlying emotional tension they are trying to hide. Another vocal cue to look for is emphasis. Which words or phrases does the person stress during the conversation? When someone places emphasis on certain words, it can reveal what they truly care about or what they're trying to draw your attention to. For example, if someone says, "I really didn't mean to upset you," with heavy emphasis on the word really, it might suggest that they are eager to prove their innocence, possibly because they know they've done something wrong. Alternatively, emphasizing different parts of the same sentence, like, "I really didn't mean to upset you," can shift the focus and potentially reveal defensiveness. Repetition in speech is another element to pay close attention to. When people repeat certain phrases or words, it's often because they are trying to convince you of something, or perhaps themselves. This can be especially true if someone is repeating statements like, "I'm telling the truth," or "I swear I didn't do it." Repetition can be a subconscious attempt to make their statement seem more believable. On the other hand, a person who doesn't feel the need to repeat themselves often projects confidence and trustworthiness, relying on the strength of their original statement without overemphasizing it. The absence of tone, a monotone voice, can be telling in itself. People who speak in a monotone might be trying to conceal their emotions, making it harder for you to detect how they are really feeling. Monotone speech can signal boredom, emotional detachment, or even deceit. When a person's voice remains flat throughout the conversation, it can indicate that they are either uninterested in the discussion or deliberately withholding emotion to mask their true feelings. It's essential to remember that vocal cues do not exist in isolation. Tone, pitch, volume, speed, and pauses should be analyzed alongside other non-verbal cues like body language and facial expressions. If someone's words don't match the tone of their voice or their body language, it's a strong indicator that they may be hiding something or feeling conflicted. For example, a person might say, "I'm fine," but if their voice is tight, high-pitched, and rushed, it suggests they are anything but fine. Voice tone tells you what words don't. By carefully listening to the pitch, tone, volume, speed, pauses, and emphasis in someone's voice, you can gain profound insights into their true emotions and intentions. Even when someone is saying one thing, their voice often betrays their real feelings. Mastering the ability to read these vocal cues allows you to see beyond the surface of conversations and understand people on a deeper, more intuitive level. Lesson 6. Hand gestures. Give away secrets. Hand gestures are a subtle yet powerful part of nonverbal communication. While people often focus on what is being said, or the facial expressions that accompany words, the movements of someone's hands can reveal just as much, if not more, about their emotions, intentions, and thoughts. In fact, hand gestures are often unconsciously performed, making them a reliable indicator of what someone is truly feeling in the moment. By paying close attention to how someone uses their hands during a conversation, you can unlock deeper insights into their mindset and emotional state. One of the most telling signs of comfort or discomfort is how relaxed a person's hands are. When someone feels at ease and confident, their hand movements tend to be natural and fluid. They may use their hands to emphasize points in the conversation, gesturing in sync with their words. Open hand gestures, where the palms are facing upward or outward, generally indicate openness, honesty, and a willingness to engage. People who use open palms are usually more approachable and trustworthy, signaling that they have nothing to hide. Closed or hidden hands can be a red flag. Clenched fists, for instance, are often a sign of tension, frustration, or even anger. This gesture might occur during heated discussions or when someone is trying to suppress their emotions. If someone keeps their hands hidden in their pockets or tucked away, it may indicate that they feel nervous, insecure, or are withholding information. The act of concealing the hands can create a physical barrier, showing that the person is emotionally closed off or uncomfortable with the conversation. Fidgeting is another key hand movement that can reveal inner anxiety or nervousness. When someone repeatedly touches their face, taps their fingers, or plays with objects like a pen or their phone, it often signals discomfort or impatience. These repetitive actions are often unconscious, making them a reliable indicator of the person's emotional state. For example, someone who continuously taps their fingers during a meeting may be feeling uneasy or bored. On the other hand, a person who is comfortable and confident will typically have more controlled and deliberate hand movements. One of the most common hand gestures associated with dishonesty or nervousness is the act of touching one's face. When someone frequently touches their nose, mouth, or chin while speaking, it can indicate that they are feeling uneasy or might not be telling the full truth. This is because face touching is often an unconscious, self-soothing gesture that people use when they are stressed or anxious. It's important to consider this in the context of the conversation. If someone touches their face while giving an important answer, it could be a subtle sign that they are not being entirely honest or are feeling uncomfortable with their response. Hand gestures that align with what someone is saying are often a sign of authenticity. When people's words and gestures are in sync, it indicates that they are confident in what they're saying and are fully engaged in the conversation. For example, if someone is explaining an idea and uses their hands to illustrate their point by drawing shapes or making expansive gestures, it shows that they are confident and enthusiastic. In fact, research suggests that people who use gestures while they speak are often more persuasive because their body language reinforces their words, making their communication more dynamic and engaging. Mirroring is another important aspect of hand gestures to watch for. When someone mirrors your hand gestures or movements during a conversation, it is often an unconscious sign that they are trying to build rapport or connect with you. For example, if you cross your arms and the person you're speaking with does the same shortly afterward, it suggests they are trying to match your body language to create a sense of harmony. Mirroring is a powerful non-verbal cue that people use to establish trust and rapport, and it can give you insight into how comfortable someone feels around you. Gestures can also convey aggression or defensiveness, especially when they are sharp or exaggerated. Pointing, for instance, can come across as aggressive or accusatory, especially if it's done forcefully. Someone who frequently points during a conversation may be trying to dominate or control the discussion. Similarly, when hand movements become large and animated in moments of frustration or anger, it can signal that the person is feeling overwhelmed or trying to assert themselves forcefully. On the other hand, gestures that show a person is closing themselves off emotionally are just as revealing. Crossed arms, for example, are a classic sign of defensiveness or discomfort. While this isn't a hand gesture per se, it involves the arms and hands in a way that creates a physical barrier between the person and their surroundings. It's a way of shutting down openness, signaling that the person is either not interested in the conversation or feels threatened by it. However, like all body language, crossed arms need to be interpreted in context. A person could simply be cold or trying to find a more comfortable position, so it's important to consider other non-verbal cues along with it. Another gesture that can indicate anxiety or nervousness is hand wringing. This involves repeatedly clasping and unclasping the hands, often in an attempt to self-soothe during stressful situations. Someone who is nervous about an upcoming event or uncertain about how a conversation is going may engage in hand-wringing without even realizing it. This gesture is often accompanied by other signs of nervousness, such as a tense posture or a strained voice. Even the way someone handles objects with their hands can give you clues about their emotions. For example, someone who is playing with a pen, fidgeting with their jewelry, or frequently adjusting their clothes might be feeling anxious or distracted. These gestures can be subtle, but provide valuable insight into the person's mental state. In contrast, someone who handles objects calmly and deliberately often feels more in control and composed. The absence of hand gestures can also be telling. If someone keeps their hands rigidly still or avoids using them altogether, it might be a sign that they are trying to control their emotions or are feeling particularly nervous. People who are relaxed and comfortable tend to use their hands naturally when they speak, while those who are tense may consciously or unconsciously restrict their movements to avoid giving away their true feelings. Hand gestures are a powerful form of non-verbal communication that can provide deep insight into someone's emotional state and intentions. From open palms that signal honesty to fidgeting that reveals nervousness, our hands often betray what's going on beneath the surface, even when our words don't. By paying attention to how people use their hands during interactions, you can uncover hidden emotions, detect discomfort, and better understand the people around you. Hand gestures are the subtle clues that, when combined with other non-verbal cues, allow you to analyze someone with greater accuracy and insight. Lesson 7. Posture reflects inner confidence. Posture is one of the most immediate and telling signs of a person's inner confidence and emotional state. The way someone holds themselves can reveal a great deal about how they feel, not just about the situation at hand, but also about themselves. While words and even facial expressions can be consciously controlled, posture is often an unconscious reflection of what's happening beneath the surface. Whether someone stands tall or slouches, whether they lean in or hold back, their posture gives you a direct insight into their mindset. Learning to read posture effectively can help you understand whether someone feels confident, defensive, relaxed, or anxious. Let's start with one of the most basic yet powerful postures, standing tall with shoulders back and head held high. This open and upright posture signals confidence, self-assurance, and presence. When someone stands this way, they exude an air of authority and control. It's a posture that communicates to the world, "I'm comfortable in my skin, and I'm in control of this situation." People who adopt this posture are often seen as more trustworthy, capable, and competent because their body language projects confidence. This is why it's commonly associated with leaders and people who command respect in a room. Slouching or hunching over sends a very different message. When someone slouches, it often signals insecurity, discomfort, or a lack of confidence. A person who slouches or hunches over their shoulders might be trying to make themselves seem smaller, as if they're trying to retreat from attention or avoid confrontation. This can also indicate that they're feeling uncertain or overwhelmed. In social situations, slouching may suggest that someone is nervous or self-conscious, especially if combined with avoiding eye contact. Slouched posture is not just about the physical act of bending forward, it's also a reflection of a person's emotional state, where they may be feeling vulnerable or unassertive. Another critical aspect of posture to pay attention to is how a person holds their arms and legs. For example, crossed arms are a classic indicator of defensiveness or emotional distance. When someone crosses their arms, it often creates a physical barrier between them and the outside world, suggesting that they are feeling guarded or resistant to the conversation. This posture may also indicate that they are uncomfortable or unwilling to open up emotionally. On the other hand, open and relaxed arms, with hands visible or hanging naturally by their sides, usually signal that the person feels comfortable, confident, and open to engagement. Leaning in or leaning away are other key indicators of a person's engagement level. When someone leans forward during a conversation, it often means they are interested, engaged, and actively participating. It's a sign that they are focused on the interaction and want to be part of the conversation. In contrast, someone who leans back or shifts their weight away from you may be signaling disinterest, discomfort, or even disagreement. This distancing behavior creates physical and emotional space, showing that the person might not want to engage as fully or feels unsure about the situation. Feet positioning can also reveal a lot about someone's mindset. For example, if a person's feet are pointed directly at you during a conversation, it's a good indicator that they are fully engaged and attentive. On the other hand, if their feet are pointed toward the door or away from you, it could be a sign that they are mentally or emotionally checked out and ready to leave the conversation. Feet often provide subtle clues about where someone's attention and energy are directed, even when their upper body or face seems engaged. One of the most telling signs of confidence and self-assuredness is when a person takes up space with their posture. This doesn't mean being physically imposing, but rather that they allow themselves to move freely and comfortably within their environment. For example, someone who sits or stands with their arms comfortably extended, or who rests an arm on the back of a chair, is showing that they feel relaxed and in control. They aren't afraid to take up physical space, which is often a sign of strong self-confidence. On the flip side, someone who makes themselves smaller by keeping their arms close to their body or hunching over may be feeling insecure or intimidated. It's also important to note the difference between rigid posture and relaxed posture. A person who is standing or sitting rigidly with little movement might be feeling anxious, uncomfortable, or overly concerned about making a good impression. This stiffness can suggest that the person is trying hard to control their body language, perhaps to mask nervousness or unease. In contrast, a person who is relaxed and moves naturally in their space tends to feel more at ease and confident. They are not overthinking how they come across because they are comfortable with who they are and the situation they're in. Another key aspect of posture is how it changes during a conversation. Sometimes a person may start off in a closed or defensive posture, such as with crossed arms or legs, but as the conversation progresses and they become more comfortable, their posture might open up. They may uncross their arms, lean forward, and make more eye contact. This shift in posture is often a sign that they are warming up to the conversation or beginning to trust you more. On the other hand, if someone starts off with open body language but gradually becomes more closed off, it could indicate that they are feeling increasingly uncomfortable or defensive as the conversation progresses. When it comes to posture, context matters. For example, a person crossing their arms in a chilly room might simply be trying to keep warm, not necessarily indicating defensiveness. Similarly, someone who slouches might be physically tired rather than insecure. This is why it's important to observe posture in relation to the overall situation and other non-verbal cues, such as facial expressions, hand gestures, and tone of voice. Taken together, these signals provide a fuller picture of a person's emotional state. Cultural factors can also play a role in how we interpret posture. In some cultures, certain postures are more acceptable or encouraged than in others. For example, in many Western cultures, standing tall with shoulders back is a sign of confidence. But in some Eastern cultures, a more humble, downcast posture might be seen as respectful. Understanding these cultural differences can help you interpret posture more accurately, especially when interacting with people from diverse backgrounds. Posture is a direct reflection of a person's inner confidence, comfort level, and emotional state. By paying attention to how someone holds themselves, whether they stand tall or slouch, whether they lean in or hold back, you can gain valuable insights into how they feel about themselves and the situation. While words can be controlled and facial expressions can be masked, posture is often an unguarded and honest indicator of a person's true feelings. Mastering the art of reading posture will allow you to better understand and connect with the people around you, even before they say a word. Lesson 8. Trust your gut. Intuition is powerful. We often underestimate the power of intuition, but it is one of the most valuable tools at our disposal when it comes to reading people. Intuition is that gut feeling you get about someone, a sense that tells you whether to trust them, be cautious, or pay closer attention to certain behaviors. While intuition can seem vague or even irrational at times, it is actually based on the brain's ability to process subtle cues, such as body language, facial expressions, and tone of voice, that your conscious mind might not fully register. Learning to trust and hone your intuition can significantly enhance your ability to analyze people on first sight. When you first meet someone, your brain immediately starts working to assess them. It picks up on a wide range of non-verbal cues, from their posture to their eye contact to the way they speak and move. These cues are processed almost instantaneously, and your brain uses its vast store of past experiences and knowledge to make quick judgments about the person. This rapid processing often happens on a subconscious level, which is why you might not be able to explain exactly why you feel a certain way about someone. You just know. For example, have you ever met someone and instantly felt uneasy around them, even though they didn't say or do anything overtly negative? That feeling is your intuition picking up on subtle signals that your conscious mind hasn't fully processed yet. Maybe their smile didn't reach their eyes, or their body language was slightly closed off, but not enough for you to consciously notice. Your intuition, however, picked up on these cues and sent a warning signal to your brain, telling you that something might be off. You might meet someone and feel an immediate sense of trust and comfort, even though you've only known them for a few minutes. This is also intuition at work. Your brain is recognizing positive cues, like open body language, consistent eye contact, and a warm tone of voice, and using these signals to inform your gut feeling. In these situations, your intuition is guiding you toward people who are likely to be trustworthy and open, even before you've had the chance to fully evaluate them. It's important to recognize that intuition is not some mystical or magical force. It is deeply rooted in your past experiences, observations, and learned patterns. Over time, as you encounter more people and gain more experience in social interactions, your intuition becomes sharper and more reliable. Every time you've met someone in the past, your brain has stored the details of that interaction, whether the person was friendly or untrustworthy, confident or insecure. Your brain uses these memories to form patterns, which in turn inform your future judgments about people. This is why your gut feeling about someone can be so accurate, even if you can't articulate exactly why you feel that way. It's also important to distinguish between intuition and prejudice. Prejudice occurs when you make snap judgments about someone based on superficial characteristics, such as their appearance, race, or gender, without taking the time to observe their actual behavior. Prejudice is based on assumptions, stereotypes, or preconceived notions, while intuition is based on real, observed cues. The key is to trust your intuition, but remain aware of your own biases, ensuring that you're not simply jumping to conclusions based on superficial factors. One way to hone your intuition is to practice mindful observation. The more you consciously pay attention to people's body language, facial expressions, and tone of voice, the better your brain becomes at recognizing patterns and forming accurate gut feelings. When you meet someone, take a moment to observe how they hold themselves. Are they relaxed or tense? How do they respond to your questions? Do their facial expressions match their words? By actively engaging in this process, you're training your brain to pick up on these cues faster and more accurately, which will strengthen your intuition over time. Another way to improve your intuition is to reflect on past interactions. Think about people you've met in the past who gave you strong gut feelings, either positive or negative. Did your initial impression turn out to be accurate? If so, what specific cues or behaviors led to that feeling? By reflecting on these experiences, you can start to identify the patterns that your brain is picking up on, which will help you trust your gut more confidently in future interactions. It's also important to listen to your body's physical reactions when interacting with someone new. Intuition is often felt physically as much as it is mentally. You might feel a sense of calm and relaxation when you're around someone trustworthy, or you might feel tension or discomfort in your stomach when something feels off. These physical sensations are your body's way of communicating what your intuition has picked up on. Learning to recognize and trust these signals can help you make better decisions about the people you interact with. That being said, it's also important to balance intuition with logic. While your gut feeling is often right, there will be times when it's beneficial to gather more information before making a final judgment. For example, if you get a negative feeling about someone, it might be worth observing them a little longer to see if their behavior confirms your intuition. Similarly, if you feel an instant connection with someone, it's still wise to remain open-minded and let the relationship develop naturally. In this way, intuition and logic can work together to give you a more complete understanding of the person. There's also something to be said for energy. We often refer to someone as having good vibes or bad vibes, and this is closely tied to intuition. People give off energy based on their mood, personality, and intentions, and you can often sense this energy even before they speak. Someone with positive energy may make you feel relaxed, safe, and comfortable, while someone with negative energy might make you feel uneasy or anxious. This energetic exchange is part of your intuitive process. Your brain is picking up on subtle, non-verbal signals and translating them into a feeling of either attraction or repulsion. Intuition is one of the most powerful tools you have when it comes to analyzing people on first sight. It is your brain's way of processing non-verbal cues and past experiences to give you a quick, often accurate assessment of someone's character or intentions. By learning to trust and develop your intuition, you can become more adept at understanding people's true nature, even when their words and actions might suggest otherwise. Intuition is not just a fleeting feeling. It is a deeply rooted form of intelligence that, when honed, can guide you in making better judgments about the people you encounter. Lesson 9. People can't hide their energy. Every person emits a certain kind of energy when they walk into a room, and whether you realize it or not, you're always picking up on it. This energy is a reflection of their inner state, how they feel about themselves, the situation, and the people around them. Often, the energy someone gives off tells you more about them than their words ever could. Energy is subtle, but it's incredibly powerful and difficult to hide. Learning to read and interpret the energy people project can give you invaluable insights into their true feelings, intentions, and even their character. You've probably experienced this firsthand. There are some people you meet who make you feel instantly comfortable, calm, and at ease, while others leave you feeling tense, drained, or anxious. These reactions are your body and mind responding to the energy someone is projecting. People with positive, confident, and authentic energy tend to draw others in. They have an aura of openness, warmth, and sincerity that makes them easy to trust and connect with. In contrast, people who are anxious, insecure, or harboring negative intentions often give off energy that feels heavy, uncomfortable, or unsettling. One of the key aspects of reading someone's energy is recognizing that it is largely unspoken. While words can be controlled and facial expressions can be manipulated, energy is much harder to mask. It's the sum of all the non-verbal cues a person is giving off: how they stand, how they move, the tone of their voice, and even the way they breathe. All of these subtle signals combine to create the overall vibe that someone projects. The more you tune into these signals, the better you'll become at recognizing when someone's energy doesn't match what they're saying. For example, someone might be smiling and saying all the right things, but if their energy feels off, if they seem restless, insincere, or guarded, it's a good indication that they aren't being fully honest or comfortable. On the other hand, someone who is speaking openly and with good intentions often radiates a calm, grounded energy that puts you at ease. This is why we sometimes describe people as having good vibes or bad vibes. We're picking up on the energy they are emitting, even if we can't quite put our finger on why we feel the way we do. One important thing to note is that energy is contagious. You've likely experienced this when you're around someone who is highly positive and enthusiastic. Their energy is infectious, and it lifts your mood, making you feel more energized and optimistic. Conversely, being around someone who is negative, pessimistic, or anxious can have the opposite effect. It drains your energy, leaving you feeling fatigued or emotionally depleted. This is why it's so important to be aware of the energy people bring into your life. Surrounding yourself with people who project positive, uplifting energy can have a profound impact on your own emotional well-being, while allowing negative energy to seep in can slowly wear you down. Another way to read someone's energy is by observing how they interact with others. People with positive energy tend to make those around them feel valued, heard, and appreciated. They listen attentively, offer genuine smiles, and engage with others in a way that fosters connection and trust. In contrast, someone with negative energy might come across as dismissive, disinterested, or even hostile. They may interrupt others, dominate conversations, or fail to make eye contact. These behaviors are reflections of their inner energy, whether they feel confident and open, or defensive and closed off. Body language plays a major role in how people project their energy. Someone who stands tall, with their chest open and their shoulders back, exudes confidence and positivity. Their movements are likely to be relaxed and fluid, signaling that they are comfortable in their environment and with themselves. In contrast, someone who is tense with hunched shoulders, crossed arms, or fidgety movements often projects nervous or anxious energy. Their body language reflects their inner discomfort, and it can be felt by those around them. Eye contact is another important indicator of a person's energy. People with open, positive energy tend to maintain consistent, relaxed eye contact, which helps to establish trust and rapport. Their eyes are often lively and engaged, showing that they are fully present in the moment. On the other hand, someone who avoids eye contact or has a more distant, disconnected gaze may be projecting guarded or negative energy. They might be uncomfortable with the situation, or they could be trying to hide their true feelings. It's also helpful to pay attention to how you feel when you're around someone. Do you feel energized, calm, and happy, or do you feel tense, anxious, or drained? Your body often picks up on energy before your mind does, and these physical sensations are clues about the energy someone is projecting. If you feel a sense of peace and comfort around someone, their energy is likely positive and genuine. But if you feel uneasy or drained, it could be a sign that their energy is negative, manipulative, or inauthentic. One of the most telling signs of someone's energy is how they handle stress or conflict. A person with positive energy will approach stressful situations with a calm, grounded demeanor. Even if they are under pressure, they maintain a sense of composure and optimism, which can be reassuring to those around them. In contrast, someone with negative energy may react to stress with panic, anger, or defensiveness. Their energy becomes chaotic, and they may lash out at others or shut down completely. How someone responds to challenges is a clear indicator of their emotional resilience and the kind of energy they carry within them. It's important to note that energy is not fixed. It can shift depending on a person's mood, environment, and circumstances. Someone who normally has positive energy may temporarily project negative energy if they are going through a tough time, and vice versa. This is why it's important to look at energy in context and not make snap judgments based on a single interaction. However, over time, a person's consistent energy patterns will reveal their true nature. People can't hide their energy, and it's one of the most reliable ways to understand someone's true feelings and intentions. While words can be carefully chosen and actions can be rehearsed, the energy someone projects is harder to disguise. By tuning into the subtle cues of body language, eye contact, tone of voice, and how you feel around someone, you can get a clearer sense of who they really are. Learning to read energy will not only help you understand others better, but also help you protect your own emotional well-being by choosing to surround yourself with people who uplift and energize you, rather than those who drain you. Energy speaks louder than words, and when you learn to listen, you'll gain deeper insights into the people around you. Lesson 10. Adapt to cultural differences. Understanding how to read people is a powerful skill, but it becomes even more nuanced when you take cultural differences into account. While there are many universal aspects of body language and communication, different cultures have their own unique norms and expectations regarding nonverbal cues, expressions, and even physical space. To truly master the art of reading people, you need to be aware of these cultural variations and adapt your approach accordingly. Ignoring cultural differences can lead to misunderstandings, misinterpretations, and missed opportunities for connection. One of the most important cultural differences to be aware of is eye contact. In many Western cultures, maintaining eye contact is seen as a sign of confidence, honesty, and engagement. People who make strong, direct eye contact are often perceived as trustworthy and attentive. However, in some Eastern cultures, prolonged eye contact can be viewed as disrespectful, especially when directed at someone in a position of authority or an elder. In these cultures, lowering your gaze or avoiding eye contact can be a sign of respect, not shyness or dishonesty. Therefore, when reading someone's eye contact in a cross-cultural setting, it's crucial to consider the cultural context to avoid misjudging their intentions. Personal space is another area where cultural norms differ significantly. In some cultures, such as in many Middle Eastern and Latin American countries, people tend to stand closer together during conversations. Being physically close is seen as a sign of warmth and familiarity. In contrast, in many Western or Northern European cultures, people prefer to maintain a larger personal space, and standing too close can make them feel uncomfortable or invaded. If you're reading someone in a culture where close proximity is the norm, don't interpret their closeness as overly aggressive or intrusive. It may simply be a cultural norm. On the other hand, if you're in a culture that values personal space, maintaining an appropriate distance can help put the other person at ease and make them feel more comfortable. Gestures are another area where cultural differences can lead to confusion. For example, a thumbs-up gesture is commonly understood as a sign of approval or agreement in many Western cultures. However, in some parts of the Middle East, the thumbs-up gesture can be offensive or disrespectful. Similarly, the OK hand gesture, making a circle with the thumb and index finger, is a positive symbol in the United States, but can be considered rude or obscene in certain Latin American countries. Knowing these cultural nuances is essential to avoid accidentally offending someone or misinterpreting their gestures. Even something as simple as a handshake can carry different meanings depending on the culture. In the US and many European countries, a firm handshake is seen as a sign of confidence and professionalism. However, in some Asian cultures, a softer handshake is preferred, as an overly firm grip can be perceived as aggressive. Additionally, in cultures like Japan, a bow may replace a handshake altogether, and understanding how deep or long to bow can reflect the level of respect or formality in the interaction. By adapting your handshake or greeting to the cultural context, you can make a positive first impression and avoid unintentionally signaling disrespect or disinterest. Another important cultural difference to consider is the role of silence in communication. In many Western cultures, people often feel the need to fill silence with conversation, viewing pauses as awkward or uncomfortable. However, in many Asian cultures, silence is seen as a natural and important part of communication. It allows people to reflect on what has been said and to consider their responses carefully. In these cultures, rushing to fill silence can come across as impatient or disrespectful. When interacting with someone from a culture that values silence, it's important to be comfortable with pauses and not to interpret them as signs of disengagement or lack of interest. Facial expressions can also vary in meaning across cultures. While some expressions, such as smiling or frowning, are universally understood, the frequency and intensity of facial expressions can differ. In cultures like the United States, people may smile frequently as a way of showing friendliness, even in casual or business settings. In contrast, in some Asian cultures, smiling may be used more sparingly and is often reserved for close personal relationships or special occasions. This doesn't mean that people from these cultures are less friendly. It simply reflects different cultural expectations about when and how to express emotions. Understanding these differences can help you avoid misinterpreting someone's facial expressions as aloof or overly reserved. Posture is another important cultural factor. In many Western cultures, standing tall with your shoulders back is seen as a sign of confidence and assertiveness. In contrast, in some Eastern cultures, a more humble posture, with slightly bowed shoulders or a lowered head, can be a sign of respect, especially when interacting with someone in a higher position or older than you. In these cultures, adopting a posture that is too upright or assertive may be perceived as arrogant or disrespectful. Being aware of these differences allows you to adjust your own posture to align with cultural expectations and avoid giving off the wrong impression. Another key cultural difference is how people express emotions. In many Western cultures, it's common for people to express their emotions openly. Whether they're feeling happy, sad, or frustrated, people may raise their voices, use dramatic gestures, or show their feelings through facial expressions. However, in many Asian cultures, emotional expression is often more subdued. People may be more reserved in showing strong emotions, especially in public settings, as expressing too much emotion can be seen as a loss of control or a breach of social harmony. If you're reading someone from a culture where emotions are more controlled, it's important not to assume they are indifferent or unemotional just because they aren't outwardly expressive. Even conversation styles can differ greatly across cultures. In some cultures like the US, people may value directness and getting straight to the point in conversations. In contrast, in cultures like Japan or many Middle Eastern countries, communication tends to be more indirect, with an emphasis on politeness and saving face. People may avoid saying no directly to avoid confrontation or embarrassment, instead opting for more subtle or vague responses. Understanding these differences can help you avoid misinterpreting indirect communication as evasiveness or dishonesty. It may simply be a cultural way of maintaining respect and harmony. To truly master the art of reading people, it's essential to approach every interaction with cultural sensitivity and awareness. This means not just applying universal principles of body language and communication, but also being open to learning about the specific cultural norms that govern behavior in different parts of the world. A gesture, facial expression, or posture that means one thing in your culture may have an entirely different meaning in another, and by understanding these differences, you can avoid misunderstandings and build stronger, more meaningful connections with people from diverse backgrounds. Adapting to cultural differences is crucial when reading people. While there are many universal aspects of human behavior, cultural norms shape how people express themselves through body language, gestures, facial expressions, and even silence. By becoming more culturally aware, you can avoid misinterpretations and enhance your ability to connect with others across cultural boundaries. Understanding and respecting cultural differences allows you to read people more accurately and helps you navigate social interactions with greater ease, ensuring that you don't just read the person in front of you, but do so with the respect and understanding that different cultural backgrounds deserve. Thank you for tuning in to Echoes of Empowerment. If you found value in this message, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with others who could benefit from these insights. Remember, empowerment begins with understanding, so keep honing your skills, and we'll see you in the next episode. Stay empowered.